Let's make Synthwave with AI Violins. First let's set the tempo to something like 90 BPM, and start with the drums. I'll start with this fast kick. And I'll turn the kick into mono. And use EQ to turn down the highs. Then we need a snare with a lot of reverb. Then some open hi-hats. And some closed hi-hats. Then we need some crashes. And some percussion. And I'll pan them across like this. Now, I'll track all of the drums except for the kick and the snare into a mixer channel. And use a parallel channel like this to add some reverb. And I'll cut the lows from the reverb using EQ. After 16 bars, at the second half of the drop, let's add some drum fills. Moving on to the bass, I'll use 3 types of basses. The first one is this synth bass. Let's side chain this to the kick using a limiter. Cut off the highs. Turn the bass mono, and add some multiband compression to control the low end. The second bass is a high respace layer. I'll sidechain this and EQ to take off the lows. The third one is a retro bass stab like this. Let's take off the lows from this. Add some reverb. And some delay. Now we need some lush chords. Let's also layer some more sounds to this. I'll pan these sounds to make the chord sound wider. I'll use EQ to brick wall the highs like this. And move on to our main element, the violins. For that we'll be using Ace Studio's new AI violin. First, let's export our drop for now to keep as reference. And set the Ace Studio tempo to 90 and add our exported file. Then I'll add this violin instrument, and create a good violin melody. Guys, these violin models are trained by world-class violinists to get the best sounds, and the AI articulates them based on the MIDI to give it a really natural feeling. Here, listen. The Violin AI is still in the beta, meaning that more and more features will be added later on, for example this expression control function which will be updated in the coming months. So, if you're interested in this, make sure to check it out using the link in the description. And let's export this and jump back to our main project. Now let's sidechain this, use EQ to cut off the lows. Some multiband compression on the higher mids. Some multiband saturation. Guys, can you hear the noise that came up after saturating the violin? To get rid of that noise, we can use a noise gate like this. Then let's add some compression to even out the sound. And I'll use Q3 to boost the mids using mid-side EQ to widen the sound. And some reverb. Then let's add some ARPs. I'll just use EQ to clean up the low end. Then some pads. Let's sidechain this and add some EQ. Now let's add some synth fills to make the track more interesting. At the second half of the drop, let's add layer a synth to the violins. For that, let's export the MIDI file from AI Studio and drag it onto the piano roll. Let's slightly adjust the EQ to clear out the sound. Since the drop is now done, let's move on to the intro and the build-up. Let's start with the kick and the bass. And after 8 bars, add the chords, the pads, and the snares. Moving on to the build-up, let's add the bass stab and the synth fills. The snares reintroduced after 8 bars. And let's use the violin MIDI to add a break melody like this. Then let's add some risers. To make the drop sounds bigger, let's use a high-pass filter to filter out the lows during the build-up. Let's duplicate this and change things around in the second half to make the song feel different. So guys, our track is now done. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and let's see our final result.